welcome back to BERNAMA today. It's Fabian Narcis as well as Jessie Chahal taking you through this next segment. We're talking some international stories now. Can you believe it? It's been 21 years since Hong Kong has been returned to the Chinese rule after the British rule for so many years before that. But now the Cantonese people, or rather Hong Kongers as they're called,
Honkies,
say that the Cantonese language is perhaps facing some challenges.
Yes, the reason is because a lot of people coming from mainland China speaks Mandarin. And Mandarin as a national language in China, of course, you're losing the dialect of Cantonese. That's what they're trying to say.
Right.
So a lot of people are arguing that Hong Kong is generally very much of a Cantonese city or Cantonese town. Just as much as KL, Ipoh and all those. It's Cantonese speaking as well here.
That's right. Now the latest to make headlines as well there is that something that happened in May just this year, the Hong Kong Education Bureau referred to an earlier opinion that Mandarin should be made Hong Kong's official language and not Cantonese. So of course this has caused more an uproar now. A well-known Hong Kong academic turned celebrity Benjamin Ouyong says that it looks like Hong Kong authorities have not really worked on how to balance the increasing influence of Mandarin, as you've mentioned earlier. It's more prominent now than the traditional preference of Cantonese.
No, this is the reason, because I think this is just a very personal opinion, is that see, Hong Kong has been independent before and it's out from China, and suddenly when the return happened, people are not getting used to it. 21 years is a long time, but a lot of people are still not getting used to it. But a lot of people still think Hong Kong is Hong Kong because Hong Kong has its own dollar, its own economy, its own everything, right? And people still go Hong Kong to bank still. So, you know, a lot of sentiments felt that, you know, Hong Kong is still a different country from China, though now they are actually both together.
That's right. But on that same note, though, Hong Kong marks its 21st anniversary of return to Chinese rule, and Hong Kong celebrated this on Sunday. Its chief executive, Carrie Lam, attended a flag-raising ceremony flanked by her predecessors, Leong Chun Ying and Tun Chi Wah, all of them seen in this footage here. And this, of course, is the raising the flag ceremony that we see. A small group of protesters, though, tried to approach this particular venue, but the police stopped them more than 100 meters away. They carried a coffin representing death, and they had chanted slogans against the one-party rule in China.
Right, as you can see the visuals that we're showing you. Another story we have for you is the annual pro-democracy protest marks the 21st anniversary of the Chinese rule, and thousands of people actually marched through downtown Hong Kong, as we have the visuals in a bit to show you, in an annual protest of the anniversary of Hong Kong's return to Chinese rule. The Hong Kong Civic Human Rights Front has been organizing the annual protest since 2003. There you go. The organizers' main slogan for this year's protest is "End one-party dictatorship and resist the decline of Hong Kong." So protesters actually gathered at Victoria Park and passed through the city's busiest shopping area, Causeway Bay.
That's right. And that, of course, is creating news as well. The end point of this particular protest is the Hong Kong Central Government Office. If you've been there, you would know the distances. The protest started at 3 p.m. local time, and by 6 p.m. local time, protesters were still on the streets, and neither the protest organizers nor the police had issued the estimates of the size of the crowd yet, simply because it was a huge number.
Generally, they wanted democracy as well, I guess, because they will be, like I said, they will be in the British rule, and you know, the ideologies and the things that the British implement, even with us here today.
That's right. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, we are very much towards their side, like the Western side, our rule of law, the way we are governing things and all, very much towards the British side.
And that's because of you know, the laws that were put in place at that time, the constitution and whatnot, or with the British influence, the colonial influence. Nonetheless, I think what I wanted to say earlier was that this goes to show that the people truly have the power to make the changes that they want to see, and no better country in this region right now to boast that than Malaysia.
Right. Just to give you a short, brief, some small little stories before we go take a break. Chong Wei backs his 12th Malaysian Open title. 35-year-old fended off a fierce challenge from Japan's Kento Momota, right? And this is his 12th Malaysian Open title. after he won, the last he won is actually in 2016.
That's right. So a champion is a champion is a champion. He's come back to bag the 12th Malaysian Open title. Also, Tabung Harapan Negara snowballing into 132 million ringgit and counting. It's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. You can, of course, chip in as well. Little, not so much, or a lot. It's up to you.
Lama-lama jadi bukit,
definitely.
Right? World Cup, we're talking about. You know that we have already 4 giants fell: Germany, Argentina, Spain, Portugal. Tonight's Brazil versus Mexico game, will we see Brazil fall again, or one of the giants that will be falling? We don't know, right?
We don't know, so keep it locked on. 10 p.m. is the match between Brazil and Mexico. Too excited there, I guess.
Right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking to a very special guest. So this guest's name is Kirill. Kirill will be coming in to talk to us about tech, right?
That's right, technology.
Very interesting stories you have, Jessie. What we have lined up for him?
That's what we're going to talk about, whether smartphones should be allowed in classrooms or not. That's an argument long-standing. Part of me believes that yes, we should, emulate what some of the other countries are doing in their education system. It'd be great to hear what the education minister has in store as well. But besides that, we're talking about charging phones by your bed. Is this something we should be practicing or not? Of course, this also comes after a very special person lost his life because he was charging his phones on his bed in his room. And also, we'll be talking about where pay TV might be heading to. Are we into a
interesting topic, right?
Demand or
yeah,
we're going to take a break, right?
Yeah, we're going to take a break.
He's trying to cut me off. Okay, we'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.
Brings you the latest in current affairs, lifestyle and entertainment, as well as one-on-one discussions with fascinating personalities. Only on BERNAMA News Channel.
Listen to views of industry captains. Analyze and examine trends and projections. Gain market insights from subject matter experts. Biz Talk every Friday only on BNC.
Thank you for staying with us here on BERNAMA today. We're talking about pay TV, web TV, or paid-to-view content, right? That's quite big here in not only Malaysia but all over the world. And some of the biggest companies actually posted profits of billions and billions of US dollars, right? Here today with me, Kirill will be telling us a little bit about where pay TV is actually heading to. We even us here right now, you're watching contents that have been created by somebody, producers, assistant producers, videographers, all those kind of people, right? Today's feature based, we'll be talking about pay TV. Earlier on, we had some Malaysian, we heard of Mega TV, ABN, Astro's the biggest and still the longest standing guy, with the most license and broadcast rights to almost all of the international events happening all around the world. What is your view actually? Because earlier on you were telling me a little bit about the new information communication minister. He would like to have more players in the market, right?
Yeah, correct. I think that's where we stand. We have a position of monopoly almost, whereby there's only one satellite TV network provider, which we rely on for almost any content that we watch. And the question is, do we need more players to, let's say, improve the playing field so that we get better content and more competition? So that means by right we should get more content for less cost. Yeah. Question is, do we still go the satellite TV way, or should we go for IPTV? Right. And having said that, Astro has IPTV as well. Beyond is actually IPTV. Yes. And we have HIP TV, which is by Telecom Malaysia. So we have two big players that are reaching households, and I think it's about a couple of millions at least.
See, I'm not a guy of infrastructure, to be very frank with you. I don't really like cables running through my houses and an additional TV. What I like is to stream through my mobile phone, and if I can, share it with my TV if I want a bigger screen. Now, talk to me about Netflix. Talk to me about Amazon Prime, iFlix.
Yeah, these are the disruptors, because what they're using is they're using existing infrastructure to broadcast, meaning to say you don't need to build, a satellite network. You don't need to send up things up in the air and build a new technology, set-top boxes into everyone's home. All you do is use the existing infrastructure and then stream. All you need to do is buy a lot of content. And I think this is where we look at the difference. Amazon Prime, as you mentioned, iFlix, Netflix, what is the big difference? The big difference is that all of them have their own little markets, niches. So, for example, if one of them has exclusive rights to content, the other one cannot have it.
Correct.
So same thing with Astro. If other players were to actually come in and say, we want to broadcast CNN, just as an example, they wouldn't be allowed to because Astro has exclusive rights with CNN. So more players wouldn't lead to better content because they're exclusive and they're closing each other off. Netflix and iFlix is the same. Certain shows only available on iFlix and others on Netflix. So you would have to subscribe to all of them basically in order to watch, let's say, everything.
That's right.
So certain providers actually, they go into niche markets. There's Red One who's catering more to the Chinese market. So they're saying, well, we don't worry about these international shows. We go more into what our core audience wants.
Right. You see, we've been back and forth in this, right? And I think pay TV has been in existence for quite a few number of years right now. What actually, to you, to your point of view, what are the core benefits that viewerships that you and I actually benefit from? Because
yeah, true. Well, we benefit in a different ways. I think we have to look at it the demographic way as well.
Okay.
If we look at it the traditional way, if you look at the rural households, non-urban areas, they're mostly stuck with the traditional way. Analog TV, now moving into digital TV. And by right, today was supposed to be the second day where there's no analog TV in Malaysia. If we look back at the rollout of digital TV, July 2018 was supposed to be analog free, meaning to say we should have transitioned to digital TV by now. But I think that went quiet. We don't know what actually happened. But a lot of people still watch analog TV and just normal channels, and those are the older generation. If you look at the youngsters, they're consuming a lot of online TV. So I think the statistics show that we spend about 80 minutes per day watching YouTube in Malaysia, which is higher than the regional median. So we are avid consumers of online TV, meaning to say that the new generation now going to the sites like Tonton, YouTube, you're watching a lot of media online. And that that changes the way that these things work, because they've been traditionally relying on advertising. And when Netflix came in, the stock of Astro actually dropped tremendously because they were worried, how is this going to change the market? So we see that there's a lot of players now coming in, and so the question is, how do we improve it?
Right. So I'm just thinking, right, these guys are coming in, they're streaming content. Do you see a relation between them and helping the industry that we are in? Because we're in Malaysia. We have our own Malaysian drama, we have our own Malaysian soap opera, all our TV series. I don't really see them, streaming those kind of contents out there. Is this an issue? Because you see, when we are on Netflix, we watch all the US American dramas.
Binge it,
yeah, exactly. So, and then if you're not aware, maybe they have dim sum, which is the Chinese version of things. They do that on their platform. But what I'm trying to say is, there is none here for Malaysian audiences in English or.
I understand what you're getting at, and I think one of the Pakatan Harapan's manifestos were to actually, they're going to monetize all these, YouTube, the people who are having their own channels and creating the media and whatnot. And I think we need to look into that, how to improve our creation of media in the country. And I think we were talking about this in previous shows as well. It's not so much on consumption side. How do we improve the creation side? So there should be more incentives for us to go out and create stuff because there's more channels to put it out on where people actually view it. And I think some of these already tried it, like iFlix. You watch Netflix, there's a lot of comedy shows that are actually from Malaysia or from Singapore, so it's local content, but it's scarce. So we need more of that. And I think it takes time for us to get into that culture. And if there are people who support it, they watch it, you'll see that if a show has 1 million views on YouTube, normally you'll get paid about $2,000 for 1 million views.
Okay.
And so think about it. If you're just getting viral, you're going viral, you own the right to that video, you'd get paid. And this is not the traditional way, but it works. So we will see more of that, I think. But what we need to do is support the content creators more.
Are you looking or supporting any local content producers? Maybe you can name one or two that are actually been very famous that you know and you watch.
Well, I have to say, I'll subscribe a lot to the Southeast Asian movie scene, especially Indonesian movies or Ombak, Thailand. So these are movies of international quality, I would have to say.
Right.
Where I think they're also big in their domestic markets. If you look at the Thai way of doing commercials, they're really brilliant as way, starting the new trend in how the industry is actually moving. So there's a lot of creatives in the market. If we can transition that to the channels that we have to give it to the people is different, because we look at traditionally, these channels have always been kind of owned by the government or people underneath the government. So Media Prima, if you look at Astro, if you look at even the ABN, you kind of see that this is not an open market.
What's your take-home message on this? We have about a minute to go.
If we want to make the press completely free, we need to make sure that there are enough structure to facilitate an open market. And at the moment, it's not. So I think are we moving to the right direction in your opinion? If our minister says that we need more of players, I think what he means, we need a level playing field where people can come in and disrupt markets without consequences or political repercussions. We're moving in the right direction because the minister is actually asking for it. So it's a good sign. And we would like to see it, a few years from now, sit down and see what actually happened. Right.
Thank you very much, Kriel, for all your views and your knowledge in this.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching Monday's edition of BERNAMA Today. Stay tuned. We got a news updates right here on BERNAMA News Channel.